what's missing curfew. It's when you kind of play guilty, but you show up.
How nice is a green light on the road, though? No practice tomorrow, no plane, just go.
Scotty Upshaw in the clear, and he scores! Right in front, scores!
A few laughs, a little bit of fun, and obviously a lot of hockey talk.
You're listening to Missin Curfew.
Fellas, coming to you from Hall Pass Media in Newport Beach, this is Missin Curfew. Obes, the up dog, is out of town in Costa Rica doing God knows what. Some kind of land development deal or selling surfboards or I don't know what he's doing down there. Our boy Brad Richardson is playing TPC Scottsdale today with all the stadium up there, so that'll be a nice experience for him. But it's okay because I got the fucking man, Jay Swift, Jordan Smaltz, fella. Let's snap it around.
Let's go tape to tape. It's about time we just had the D partners back in the mix. Our forwards are taking a shift off. Obes, we got Up Dog down in Costa Rica. Not sure what he's doing down there. I don't know if it's a DMT reset, real estate, whatever he's doing. Take your time, fella. We'll see you when you're back. Brad Richardson going low and slow over here at TPC Scottsdale. So you always got to play that when you can, especially this time of year, leading up to the wasted management. But, fella, it's good to see your chin. We got the D partner back. How you doing?
Oh, can never trust the forwards, right, fella? Can never trust the forwards, eh? You can never trust them. You don't know where they're going, if they're going to hold the wall or if they're going to hold the middle. You know, you can't trust them down low. Like they're out of control out there.
No, they just think you're the last line of defense, and then they got that goal. They don't have any responsibilities out there, Obi. They're just buzzing around, just no repercussions. They're just like, fuck it. I'm just going to try whatever I want. Little toe drag. How are you? I got my D-man right there. If I fuck up, they'll save me.
Yeah. We do miss the boys, but I'm not going to lie. I was looking forward to getting snapping it tape to tape with you, Jay Swish. Speaking of Costa Rica, I have been watching the Aaron Rodgers Netflix special. The second one where he went down there. He went down to Costa Rica and did all that. Now, everything to me I've thought about doing the ayahuasca before, and there's a couple of my guys I play with that I think it'd be good for them that I would say I would do it with them. But like the ayahuasca part looked all right. The sauna. Getting in the sauna, did you see that part of it where you got to get? I don't know. He was in there for like 2 hours almost. I don't think I can handle that, Swish.
Yeah. So was he drinking water? Because I've seen like the first 2 episodes or the first 1.5. Like, do you have to go in the sauna, or are you just letting it just bare buck, like no water, just leak it out, or are you able to like consume fluids when you're in there? I wonder what that temperature of that sauna is too. Because if you get one of those like Russian saunas or Finnish saunas, that would smoke me out probably within the first 30 minutes. I would be battling.
And I'm more of a steamer guy than a sauna guy to begin with. However, I don't stay in the steamer very long either. Just kind of get it all out of you and then get out of there. But like this was an old school sauna with the blankets over it, right? And they had the rocks. This local Costa Rica guy was just bringing the rocks in there, and they closed the thing. And I'm you gotta assume they had water, but like they're in there for 2 hours, and then they come out and they lay in this like dirty kind of pond creek thing, and they just lay there and it gets all the toxins out of them. You know what I mean?
So are they high when they're doing that?
They're not high. This is after they've been high for, I guess, 2 or 3 nights. I think it's 2 nights. So they do 2 nights. They do 2 different kind of medicine. The first night's one thing, then the next night's another thing, and 2 different setups. And then you wake up that next day and you go in there to kind of detox and get it out of your system. And then you jump in this greasy creek and you just kind of lay in there. And there he just looked like so happy. But when he came out of the sauna, I was like, I don't think I could do that, Jay Swish.
Yeah, that's a full body flush, and that's kind of honestly what I'm doing right now, Obi, with my fast. I'm doing a 72-hour fast. I'm coming up on hour 44 right now, so it's a full-on water fast. No food, no nothing. Just, if you need the electrolytes or the Himalayan salt, you can add that to your water, but no sugar, no carbs, no bullshit. And like last night, dude, when I woke up at probably like 3 a.m, like I couldn't really fall asleep. I was kind of tossing and turning, and I finally, like at 3 a.m, when I kind of overcame my like initial like first real hunger after 24 hours, like I'm telling you, man, I was ready for war. I was ready to fuck. I was ready to run. I think I could have done an Ironman at 3 a.m. this previous morning, because it's crazy. Like when you turn that corner and the hunger, just starts to fade, and it's almost like your body starts breaking down the fat in your body. Man, you're a dangerous man in that state. And I'm kind of feeling that a little bit. I'm hitting a little bit of a lull, hour 44 here, but I think it's going to ramp up as we get on the other side of 2 days with no food. And I might be just ready to go again.
So you're just drinking water? Is that it? Or can you have like a little shake or something like that, or just water?
Just water. Some guys do the bone broth. I haven't needed it yet. They say coffee's okay in the morning. I haven't really had any coffee. I had a sip of an espresso, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let this thing buck and just go give her hell with just the water. So
I love it. I saw that on your social media that you were starting that. I also saw that you and that beauty Heat Daddy or Hockey Nights in Scottsdale were out at the stadium swim, shooting some content, doing what you guys do. But how sick is that place to watch sports? I mean, the screens in there are outrageous. Come summertime there, it's insane.
yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, besides you got to shuffle through the crackheads on Fremont Street in Old Vegas.
Yeah, you do.
It's a great little setup. I mean, that casino was built in 2020. Trump was actually there on Friday. He was thrown around a little bit on the craps table, so they had a little bit of a shoot for him. So it was a hectic scene in and around the casino. And then, yeah, man, I'd never been to that stadium swim before, Opes. It's unbelievable. That screen is 143 feet long. The pool right now, the pools are set at 96 degrees. So it's basically just one big hot tub with a bunch of fat dudes in there just pissing. And hopefully you don't, come out of that with some sort of chlamydia or whatever. But yeah, it's awesome in there. Like that's got to be the best wet deck as far as I'm concerned in Vegas. Probably not for the party scene, but if you just want to watch a game, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And you talk about pissing in the pool in Vegas. Like, I remember going there when I was young, right? I'd go to these fucking pool parties, and I'd stay in that pool for 8 hours. Like, not even thinking about, like, yeah, I mean, I knew I was pissing in the pool, but not even thinking about how disgusting it really is, right? Like, you couldn't pay me to go into a Vegas pool party now and actually sit in that. Like, I mean, but when I was younger, I'd go in there, fuck 6 hours drinking, not even leave, not thinking anything of it.
Oh, it was disgusting. It's
Gross.
probably just the general admission pool at, say, Wet Republic or Encore Beach Club. And then you can get, like, obviously the better bang for your buck, or not even better bang for your buck, but more real estate, as we like to call it over here, is you get that cabana that comes with the pool. But even so, you're sharing it with like another booth, and then you got 20 yearbugs in there, and everyone's pissing in there because it's easier to piss in there than go all the way over to the shitter, which is like 200 yards away. So you might as well just piss in the pool to keep the shaker going.
Yeah. No, that's the Vegas way. You just keep it. Now when I go there and I look at these pool parties, I look down, I'm like, look at these disgusting people.
Oh,
just
disgusting.
standing in there. It's just gross. But back in the day, I was loving it.
Hey, I didn't know Cosmo. We stayed the first couple nights at Cosmo. I didn't know Cosmo had an indoor wet deck. That was pretty cool to see. We didn't pop in there, but I just heard like this bass bumping at like volume 400, and I could hear it all the way up from the 41st level, and it's just like boom, boom, boom. Like, what is that noise? So I went and checked it out. They actually have an indoor pool party now at Cosmo.
Do
How
they?
sick is that? Yeah, how sick is that?
No way.
Yeah, because it's right now pool season is technically closed.
Yeah.
And now they got the indoor wet deck scene. Like, Aoki comes in there and does a set, and people are all goofed up on disco biscuits. But yeah, it looked pretty sick.
Cosmo was my spot, dude. So like halfway through my NHL career, it opened. It was supposed to be condos, right? And then it fell through because of whatever reason. That's why there's patios. That's why there's balconies there. You notice, like, I mean, unless you get like a big boy suite at the Bellagio, it has a little patio or balcony. Sorry, most hotels don't. So the rooms there all have balconies. I used to get the same little wraparound suite for the year-end bender. I'm just looking at my phone to see if I still got my guy in here on the Cosmo. Let me see what I had him in as. Yeah, Joe Cosmo. Joe Cosmo used to dial me in, but that place it's getting a little greasy now. Like, Vegas in general is getting a little greasy, but when that Cosmo first opened, buddy, it was new car smell in there. Talent flowing around, great rooms, and I partied there at the end of every year.
Yeah, that place is sick. I mean, like you said, it's a little bit, getting weathered as the years go. It gets a little bit greasier. So does Vegas in general with all the mutants running around. Obi, how funny is it that this past weekend, the AVN was there, like the Adult Film Awards for all the porn stars?
No.
Just the amount of jammers walking around the strip was insane. It was at the Virgin Hotel, by the way, which is an oxymoron in itself.
Yeah, they've redone that. They made that one sick now, the Virgin. It used to be the Hard Rock.
Yeah, it was just like, I mean, we didn't pop over there, but everyone, we saw like a bunch of just horny dudes, like especially at the bars, or like on us, like we had like 4 guys come up to us, like, have you been over to the Virgin Hotel yet? Like, fella, like, no. He's like, oh, you got to get over there. He's like, do you see this picture of this chick? I'm like, yeah, I've seen a pair of tits before that are just absolutely bolted on. Like,
Yeah.
like, I'm good.
Yeah, I've been on Pornhub before, but I know what's going on here. I've seen those before, but yeah, the Virgin Hotel that redone used to be the old Hard Rock, and back in the day, early in my career, Jerry Brockheimer used to have a Bad Boys hockey tournament there. This is before cell phones and camera phones and fucking social media. And it was at the Hard Rock Body English and the pool parties there. I was a young punk then, and I had some great nights at that Hard Rock. Great nights. It was fun.
Young, dumb, full of cum. They used to have that heart bar there, I think, too.
Yeah.
It was actually a solid spot. I caught the tail end of that place like in 2015, maybe. I came into Vegas my first time. We went up to the Heart Bar there. That was actually a pretty sick scene just to kind of start off the night.
Yeah, no, and the Virgin, they've done a nice job. It's just off the strip a bit, So it's kind of it's not the best place to stay, but they've redone it. But hey, listen, love what you guys are doing with Hockey Night in Scottsdale. If you're listening to Mr. Curfew, you haven't checked their shit out, what they're doing. Him and Bobby Gucci is as good as it gets. So Jay Swiss, rolling on with our intro here. I watched the Aussie Open for you and the Updog. Team guy here. Plus, I do like watching tennis. We've talked about it over the couple weeks. I prefer to watch the women, but I did tune in after a night of watching hockey to watch the Joker play Zverev, the big German. I hope I said that right. Had to pull out after the first set. What did you think? I mean, he had a torn quad, I believe, or muscle pull in his quad. Didn't love the drunk Aussies booing him. I love Australian people, especially the women down there, but I didn't love them booing him. If Joker's pulling out, he can't compete anymore. The guy's earned that right. I mean, you can't boo that guy off the hard court.
No, you can't. And whatever's happened in the past with that, and in terms of just the political side of him not being able to play in the Aussie Open. I mean, the guy's won the Aussie Open 10 times. Like, you have to put some respect on that, even if you don't like him as an Aussie. And I just think for the game of tennis, it's better if he's playing. And if there's something that's, hurting Joker to the point of he has to pull out of a semifinal while he's chasing greatness at number 25, he's really hurt. And it was sad to see. I was watching that over at Caesar Sportsbook, and he lost that first set 7-6 to the big German, which, by the way, have you seen the big German's gal? Oh my God, double sleeve.
Yeah.
Looks like she's straight out of a biker.
Yeah.
East Berlin.
Exactly. That's exactly what she looks like, dude. I've only been to Berlin once, but yeah, that's exactly what she looks like.
Oh my God, she's probably got 4-inch nails and just give you the best back scratch you ever had. But that's besides the point. Going back to Joker,
you need a safe word. You need a safe word with her. You got to make sure you have a safe word before you get involved with her.
Oh man, she probably parades you around East Berlin for 25,000 steps and shoves that sock right in your mouth and tapes it up with some duct tape. And you better like that. But yeah, man, I just think Joker, like, Obes, are we seeing the tail end of him? Is he going to be able to stay healthy to win 2 more majors? I don't know, man. It's kind of like that point where he's pretty old and he's getting hurt a lot. The U.S. Open, for me, I don't think he can do. I think it's a stretch because, again, it's the last tournament of the year. I think his best chances to do it are the Aussie and then Wimbledon. But it was just sad to see him pull out. But at least the big German, like we were texting during that match, at least he was pretty classy about it, right? Like.
Yeah, I thought his interview, what he said, everything about Joker was unbelievable. I saw the press conference at the end or after he retired, and obviously you could see there's a lot of emotion in it. But he did say, he still has to compete in him. But he also said, like, it's obviously physically draining, right? Like, I mean, like to those first couple rounds, those boys sometimes can get through it pretty easily. But like in a major, even if you win straight sets, you're a tennis guy playing 3 sets of tennis. A little low when it goes 5. It's like mentally and physically just exhausting. I couldn't imagine how they feel after going all the way and winning a title,
No, I know. And especially a guy at 37, 38 years old, he's been doing it for 20 odd years. And it's a young man's sport. These guys that he's playing, these kids that you're playing, they might lack a little bit mentally what the Joker has on that edge on them. But at the same time, they're flying around the court. You have guys like Shelton just buzzing around. Even the big German, like, he gets to every ball. And Joker is one of those guys that's always done everything really well, nothing exceptionally. So as he ages, I mean, it's going to be tough. I just hope he can get it done. And I'm not even a Joker guy, but I think he is unbelievable for the game, and he's fun to watch. And he's kind of that last trio of the OGs that I grew up watching with Feds, Nadal, and obviously Novak. So hopefully we see him again at the top.
I think I'm being serious too. Like, fly from LA. I'm sure Phoenix Harbor. I think we slide down there next year for a week.
Yes.
Do a couple shows around the Aussie Open, right? We call these the dog days of hockey, right? I mean, they're second week of January. You're like, how much can I bag on the Winter Classic? Let's go down to Australia and fucking get pinned and cover some tennis. So I'm serious with you about that. I might already ran it by Mac Miller. She wants to come, but I said, I might be a fellow to her. It might be a fellow to her.
I'm Johnny Chan at the World Series of Poker, Obes. I'm all in for that. That would be unbelievable. I just come meet you in LA. Maybe we get pinned the night before. leading up to the bird.
Oh,
we
yeah.
get drunk on the bird. Maybe we could probably get drunk 3 times on that bird. It's like 15 hours.
You're going to get drunk, wake up hungover, get drunk, wake up hungover again, and then you land in Melbourne. You're like, all right, fella, let's get her going here. You would love it, and for a single guy, it's a lot of fun down there. So to the Joker, I think he's got some compete left in him, Jay Swish. From one GOAT to the other GOAT, Tiger Woods last night, TGL. Listen, there's been lots of hate on the TGL, and to be honest with you, the first 3 matches have been awful. But I'll tell you what, it isn't any worse than the goddamn leaderboard that I saw at the PGA Farmers Insurance Open this weekend. I've tried to watch that. Harris English won. I mean, his personality's vanilla. The leaderboard, I had no idea who anyone was. Well, last night for the TGL, it was a home run. Boston Common versus Jupiter Lynx. Tiger Rory. Adam Scott was there. Keegan Bradley. It was awesome. Tight match. That Tom Kim has electric. So last night, Jay Swish, I'm just telling you, man, this is exactly what arena golf meant to be. Tons of celebrities there. It was unbelievable. I watched the whole thing, and something they could build off, my man, because it was electric in there. Tiger was fist pumping. Rory was fist pumping. It was a lot of fun to watch, my man.
Yeah, so I'm going to go at you a little bit here, Obi. What crowd does this tailor to? And I tweeted out last night because I watched a little bit of myself with the TGL. Mm-hmm. Is it the guys that are hitting the simulators at the PGA Superstore 4 times a week and driving nuggets into that way and looking for a new driver 4 or 5 times a week, and then they go on that putting green and they try out anything from the Yes putter to a Scotty Cameron, and they walk out of there with a new flat stick because they're draining putts on basically a funnel hole from 8 feet? It's like, I get what you're saying in a sense of it's entertaining and that, but is there longevity in this? We've talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, so you're talking about the golf nerd. That's what you're talking about. The guy that goes to, Roger Dunn Golf or the Golf Town back in Canada and gets the new set of clubs because he saw somebody using them, and he gets the new balls, and he tries to putter out. Listen, there's a bunch of those golf nerds out there, and I think, yeah, those are the guys that are watching it. But I'm looking to, like, Charlie Woods, Tiger's kid, who's going to have every opportunity being Tiger's kid. He's there. He's watching it. I think a younger demographic is really going to tune into this. And these young guys coming up, the thing that scares me about it, the longevity switch, is I don't know if these young golfers coming up have the personality to do it. Now, Rory and Justin Thomas, these guys are still super young, but I'm talking the younger guys than that. Like, are they coming up? Can they move the needle? Because once Tiger decides not to watch it, playing it, it's going to lose a lot of juice. Like, let's be honest. The only reason I watch it is because Tiger. He's my guy. I love him. I've seen him out there. I'll watch him do anything when it comes to golf. But I don't know if there's longevity for that. But I love the arena. I love the technology. And like I said last night, it was electric in there, my man.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just curious to see like what it is as a whole, how many dates these guys will be committed to moving forward. I don't know. I guess I got to give it more of a look. I just thought in terms of I was thinking about it last night while I was sitting there. I was just like, who does this league tailor to? Is it just kind of those nerd biscuits that like to hit the simulators? Maybe they're from up north and they can't play golf all year round and they got to go into the simulator, and it's the guy that says he shot 66 at Pebble Beach on the simulator. It's like, fella, you're on a simulator,
Yeah.
It's just not real golf. But one thing, Obi, I don't know if I'm going to put on the milk cart, but I wanted to discuss Tiger Woods. And I'm not hating Tiger. Tiger's my favorite.
Yep.
Tiger's always been my guy. But that Sunday red logo is not perfect.
Yeah,
it's a little chintzy. It's a little chintzy. It looks like I could go buy it at TJ Maxx.
Yeah, the whole Sunday red, line to me is not perfect. I mean, listen, Tiger put Nike Golf to where it is now. I wish he would have just stayed with Nike, but I'm with you. I don't love the Sunday red. It's just Tiger being, I'm big enough to move the needle forever, but I love Tiger more than anyone, and I wouldn't buy anything Sunday red ever. I just don't like it.
And I like the idea of it. I like the idea of him having his own brand. I just think that logo, it just looks like, I don't know. You remember that chain restaurant back in the day that was just shitty? It was called Bonefish. It's like a fake nice fish place. They have like the outline of the fish.
Yeah, there's one here in Anaheim that I used to go to all the time when we were out here for summer camps.
Right, so it's like the Outback Steakhouse of fish places.
Exactly.
That, to me, is what the logo looks like, is the Sunday red and the Bonefish logo. When we're done off this call, I'm going to send you a picture of it, and you'll laugh.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about, and you're 100% right. And he would have been better off just using the tiger emoji on my iPhone. Like that little tiger right there would have been even better than... Yeah, and he's got Puma breathing up his ass. They want to sue him because it looks like the Puma thing. Like, now he's like, what the hell happened here, fella?
I mean, you could make that Tiger logo just so badass looking too.
I
Like
know.
how he is. Like if you put like you said, like that emoji or even souped it up a little more to make it more badass, more mean, and you put that little emoji on a polo, now I'm buying that 100%.
Now we're
hat.
Now we're talking. Now we're talking, baby. He had a pair of shades walking into the barn, and it's cool. Like yesterday, they had the walk-ins, like they do in the NHL and NBA and NFL. They had the boys walking in, and Tiger had these pair of Sunday red shades on. He needs some Kits eyewear. They were just brutal. I'm like, oh, Tiger, not even you, who's worth $2 billion or whatever you're worth, can pull those off, fella. That's a bad set of shades, fella.
I just love when he walks in with the hat backwards and those fast shades on, just melted to the side of his head, and he walks in with like a tight t-shirt. He's just fucking jacked. Like that's the sickest thing when he'd be pulling out to the course back in the day. It's just like, oh my God, this guy's ready to fuck.
Yeah, and he was. He gets out on that yacht. He gets out on that yacht too. I'm like, this guy's having a time. So, anyways, to TGL, I like it. Keep it going. Jay Swish, Josh Allen, fella. You got a little comparison here?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on it, Obi. Like, everyone's always like Josh Allen MVP. Josh Allen's going to win a Super Bowl. Josh Allen's he's better than Burrow. He's just up there he's better than Lamar Jackson. He's rivaling Patty Mahomes. But at the same time, Obi, when that AFC championship game gets rolling around and he's got to go into the chin of Arrowhead Stadium over there in Kansas City, he's yet to get it done, fella. And I just think he's drawn early comparisons to Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, a really good quarterback. Could he ever get it done? No, he couldn't. In the bedroom, he could because about 12 hits.
No kidding.
But never with the game on the line and a mug to prove it. That's all I'm saying.
I'll tell you what. If I'm the Buffalo Bills, clip that and send that to Josh Allen. If that won't motivate him to fucking get over the hump, no disrespect to Phillip Rivers because he was a good quarterback, but I didn't like him because he did have 9 kids while he was playing. I'm like, how can you be an NFL quarterback and have 9 kids? Like, what are you doing with your time here? And he just couldn't get over that. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady obviously couldn't get over the hump. Doesn't swear. Didn't like that he didn't swear. I want my quarterback to say fuck. I need a guy that swears. But I'll tell you what, that could be the motivation that Josh Allen needs, bud. Maybe he puts that clip, show him Swiss Dog's comparing to Phillip Rivers. He might not like that.
No, he's not going to like it, and he should take it personally. As a guy that's never played football myself, and I don't really know what I'm talking about, I'm just saying he's drawn early comparisons when I look at the National Football League at a whole because, it's not going to get any easier. The Chiefs are always going to be good. Burrow is going to have that chip on his shoulder next year coming back into the AFC picture. And he got Baltimore, they were, just a drop away from tying that game up on a 2-point conversion. So I don't know, man. I think as Buffalo and the good people of Buffalo, we do love them over on Chippewa Street, man. It's harder than it may look right now.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about that in our DraftKings segment, but when you go back to Josh Allen, you're so right about Burrow. I think he's the only guy that has enough swag, and because he's already beat him in Arrowhead, that I think scares Patty Mahomes. Like, I think in the back of Patty Mahomes' head yesterday, he respects Josh Allen, but he's like, I got this guy. And that's what it looked like to me. He's like, this guy, Josh Allen played fine, but he had his chances where he could have got it done, and he just didn't. But time will tell. But Burrow is a guy that I think scares the boys at Arrowhead.
Joey Burrow, Joey Clean, Joey Fresh, single Joe Burrow. That's a dangerous man. He's going to have a great offseason. He's going to be at that white party with Michael Rubin. He'll probably walk out of there with about four bunks in one night. And then he's going to roll that into just having an unbelievable offseason. So they'll be back in the mix. But you're right on that, Obes. It's just like Patty Mahomes, Josh Allen doesn't scare him. Like that game was, as tight as it was, Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs were in control the whole time.
I agree, and I love Josh Allen. Had a great year, and like you said, I feel for the fans of Buffalo. But that's a good comparison. Like I said, someone clip that and send it to Josh Allen. That might get him going this offseason to do a little extra work in the gym. Jay Swish, Paul Newman, fella, Reggie Dunlop, 100 years old on Sunday, fella, he would have been. That is, fuck, I love Reggie Dunlop.
It's just crazy too. For all the hockey historians and the people that watch this show or listen, and they have obviously seen Slapshot, I assume, and we assume. But the fact that Paul Newman took that role way back when like a lower budget movie to go in there and play Reggie Dunlop is just the art in the whole movie. Obes, like it's just crazy at that time of how big of a star he was. As he jumped right into that Reggie Dunlop role. And you know what? He fucking nailed it. And obviously, it's one of our favorite movies, if not our favorite movie. So 100 years old, he would have been to the legend Reggie fucking Dunlop.
Yeah, and I would have liked to hang out with, obviously, Paul Newman, who played Reggie Dunlop. I mean, that guy probably had a few stories to tell you, bumming around Hollywood back in those days, smoking darts, drinking whiskey, chasing trim. But listen, when it comes to Reggie Dunlop, the two lines that jump out to me that I always loved the most was when he goes in and the one guy goes, "Dunlop, you suck cock," and he goes, "That's all I can get." And then another one of my favorite lines he ever said was when she shows up and he's about to have a pregame nap. He's like, geez, usually I take you out to somewhere nice like the Aces right now, but I put a bounty on a guy's head, and if I don't get some shut-eye, I'm going to get maimed out there. Usually I take you to the Aces, but...
Unbelievable. And it's just like, you can't put a bounty on a man's head. I just did. And he hangs up on Joe McGrath. Unbelievable.
And then he does the radio show at the start with Braden. He goes, and the Dunlop, you old fuck, want to retire? And then they leave, and he's leaving. He goes, what kind of broad calls in and says that? And he goes, what kind of broad calls in and says that?
And how about when the Chiefs are finally starting to play tough? He's like, God damn it, lard-ass Barkley Donaldson. I'm telling you, he jumped us. Gloves off, stick down, no warning. Challenge the Chiefs. Called us names. But Dave was there. Dave's a killer. And then in the background, Johnny's like, Dave's a mess. His face is just mangled.
Oh, buddy, I got to go home and watch that again. I mean, that's just an honorary of old Paul Newman, but that is just a classic. Classic.
Oh, you cheap son of a bitch. Those guys are retards.
Watch this. Brain's going to fuck with them. So happy birthday to Paul Newman. Would have been 100 on Sunday. Speaking of birthdays, last but not least, my old man, Pat Pitter O'Brien. Pitter, happy birthday, fella. January 28th. I believe Pitter's 78 years old. Yeah, so obviously Dad couldn't have made the NHL without you. He's a big fan of Missin Curfew. He doesn't miss a show. He always comments in on our YouTube channel. So Pat O'Brien is an old pro. He likes the old school game. He was an old school guy. He loves sitting in the dressing room, drinking beers, and then going back to his buddy's house and playing cards till God knows what time. So Pitter, happy birthday. 78 years young, Jay Swish. He's a beauty. You've never met him. He loves what you've been doing for Mr. Curfew, but he's an old school beauty.
Yeah, like a fine wine. And if he was able to produce the beauty you are, Obi, I'm sure he's a good shit. And that's a guy I'd like to have a stiff whiskey with, hopefully one day, and just pick the old Irishman's brain and just talk about, you listen to those guys talk about old school hockey. Those are some of the best hot stoves you can go to, right? It's just like hanging around guys that, grew up in a different era and just hearing the stories of their favorite players and the fights and everything. It's just, those are always some of my favorite times. So a couple of clicks for Pitter, 78 years young fella.
Yeah, and I think Pitter was more heartbroken than me when I finally stopped playing in the NHL. But I was like, Pitter, I think it's done. And you could just sound that he was crushed. But no, anyways, Dad, happy birthday. I can't drink whiskey. He used to be a rum guy. At least he liked the rum, but a couple beers now. He's kind of a lightweight. He doesn't drink like he used to. But happy birthday, buddy. And before we head to break, let's not forget this show is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Missin Curfew. Jay Swish, my man. You remember the old Blockbuster movies where you go in there and, pick something out and maybe check out the adult section, see what's going on. But the old Blockbuster movies that no longer are around. Well, we had a Blockbuster trade in the National Hockey League. I was coming off the golf course on Friday, sitting around drinking some red wine with the boys, and Kyle was texting in the Missin Curfew text. Uppy was texting. Anyways, fella, Carolina Hurricanes acquire forward Mikko Rantanen from Colorado for Taylor Hall from the Chicago Blackhawks. Going back the other way was Nacius and Drury. Listen, I'll let you start off. This one caught me completely off guard. I'm an Avs alumni. I have money on them to win the Stanley Cup. I watch a ton of their games. I never thought this day would come, but what did you think about the Blockbuster trade by the Colorado Avalanche?
Well, first of all, it's just like you've seen different sides of this, right? Mikko Rantanen's talked a little bit in a Finnish news outlet talking about, he was willing to chew on a little bit lesser of a number to stay. What does that look like? I don't know. And then Colorado, obviously, there are reports of them having an internal cap of 12.6, not going over the AAV of Nate McKinnon. Now, they're obviously going to go over that with Makar, but they wanted to stay under that for Rantanen. Would he have been willing to take that? Or maybe just a little bit less, 12.5? I mean, it seemed like everyone was caught off guard, Opes. It seemed like not only McKinnon was caught off guard, Rantanen was caught off guard. It seemed like the whole thing was just like out of the blue and kind of kept under the rug until they pulled it finally underneath Rantanen. And listen, Mikko Rantanen is a guy that's been top 5 in scoring over the last 5 years. I mean, he's in the company of McKinnon as well as Draisaitl, McDavid, and I'm forgetting whoever it is on the fifth front. But it's just like, I don't know. I mean, to me, unless you're able to, not have Carolina re-sign Rantanen on the other side and you acquire Nashis and a couple picks, then maybe it's a good deal. But at face value, I mean, they got fleeced.
Yeah, and listen, this is no disrespect to Martin Nashis or Drury. Nashis, I think he's a hell of a right winger, and he's a great player.
90-odd points that he's on pace for this year. He's really good, but he's not Mikko Rantanen.
Exactly, and I remember Uppy used to always say about Dave Poyle. I think he was talking about the Joe Thornton deal back in the day, and Dave Poyle said you always want to get the best player in the trade. And Mikko Rantanen is, in my opinion right now, the best winger in hockey. I mean, maybe the Breadman, when you go by salary, the Breadman's the highest paid winger in hockey. But right now, to me, down the wing, Mikko Rantanen, size, skill, 40 goal scorer every year, 50 goal scorer, Stanley Cup champ, guy's a moose. And I get it. You don't probably want to pay him more than Nathan McKinnon at 12.5. But for me, and who knows if he's telling the truth or not, but he was so caught off guard with the trade that he was like, well, we were still working, we were just trying to work through it. Like, to push the panic button and get rid of him at this point in the season, to me, I didn't love. And then when I hear the comments from Bednar and McKinnon, like, I would run it by my best player if I'm the GM. I'd be like, hey, Nate, listen, this is what's going on. Now, do you want to step in here and talk with Mikko or to help us out here? Because if not, there's a chance that he's going to leave town. And maybe Nate can pull him aside. But the lack of communication here between Nathan McKinnon, Jared Bednar, and Mikko Rantanen and the front office, to me, how does this happen? You guys have won a Stanley Cup together. You guys got to the top of the mountain. I know you got to sign Makar. Bring him in on the conversation too. And then if that way you can't get a deal done, at least your star player's not blindsided. Your head coach isn't blindsided. And you can all look in the mirror and say, hey, we tried to get this done. But for me, these guys are looking around, texting each other going, what the fuck just happened? So as an Avs alumni and a guy who loves the squad, I think it's a terrible trade. I can't believe they let him leave town. And the lack of communication, Jay Swish, in the organization has me really concerned, my man.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, like you said, like management, Joe Sakic, Chris McFarland, obviously they didn't talk those situations or scenarios through with not only McKinnon, Makar, but even with Mikko Rantanen. I think that there's a way to maybe kind of just juggle that, maybe not even punt it to the offseason, but it's just like you get rid of a guy like that during the season, Obes, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's a team that's chasing a cup, correct? This makes your team worse at face value. It's just, was there a way to work this out and maybe kick it down the road a little bit where you didn't have to make a trade in January? Maybe if it got to that point at the deadline, you make a move, or maybe even to the offseason. It's like, to me, at face value, this team standing here today in late January, they're further from the cup than they were 3 days ago, 4 days ago, whatever it is, right?
Oh.
It's just like, what does that message send to your star guys? We just got rid of a guy that we won with, a guy that's had back-to-back 100-point seasons, obviously a big cornerstone piece of our organization. So what do you do from here? Now you got to go get a centerman?
Well,
what do you do?
Yeah, and listen, I'm not going to sit here and chirp Joe Sakic, because Joe went in there, GM, won a Stanley Cup, moved to president, brought in Chris McFarland. I don't know, Chris. I hate the Bo Byron for Middlestat trade. I thought that's a horrendous trade in my opinion. Now, he went out and brought in Mackenzie Blackwood and Wedgwood when their goaltending wasn't great. You got to give him credit there, right? Went out and got his guy, gave him a nice ticket. But when he went out and got Blackwood, I'm like, well, here they go. They're trying to make a run, right? So he goes out and gets Blackwood, who's been one of the best goalies in the league since all year and since he's been an Avalanche. And now you go away and trade Mikko Rantanen for two good players. Like, Nation's a great player, but you just gave the best left winger in hockey up and gone. Like, he's gone. It's like, what? And you won a Stanley Cup and you've been there. And it's just like, I don't understand it, man. I really don't. Maybe he has a bigger plan. Maybe there's something up his sleeve, Jay Switch. We don't know that. We're not in those conversations. But sitting here today on January 28th talking to you on Missin Curfew, to me, they lost the deal big time.
Well, it's got to be. There's got to be more coming, right? They're not done in terms of making moves. I mean, you can't just settle on your team from moving your top winger, arguably the best winger in hockey, away from your squad, and now all of a sudden this is what we're going into the playoffs. Like, is Landeskog going to be back? Are we looking at Crosby basically says he's staying put in Pittsburgh. So that doesn't seem like it's a realistic option going to Colorado. We talked about maybe the factor out of Nashville. It's just like there's got to be another move in there, Obes. Otherwise, this doesn't make any sense. It's like you're almost forcing yourself into not a rebuild, but giving yourself a little bit of a lesser chance to go at a cup. And this is no disrespect to Nations. Nations is a hell of a player.
Hell of a player.
He's just not 6'4", 225 like the big moves.
50 goal scorer. Stanley Cup champ.
That can play in the net front. Oh, but you know how good that guy is in the net front? He's unbelievable.
It's insane. The chemistry that he had with Nate. Listen, Nations came in his first game, tough game, played better in the bright lights of Broadway. But the chemistry that Nate and Rantanen had together, I've watched them play a long time, and they miss Gabriel Landeskog. And I was talking to some friends in Denver when it happened, and after I was sitting there after texting with them, I'm like, I wonder if Landy never got hurt, and Landy has been around this team for the last 2 years, if this even happens. Like, I just think there's so much turmoil, or there's so much
turmoil.
Thank you, turmoil with what's going on with Landy, and nobody knows, is he coming back? He's on the road with them now. Like, what do we do with Landy? Do we want to sign Mikko? Like, he wants a lot of money. And to me, I saw a clip of Elliot Friedman on social media, and the cap's going up $9 million this year, and it's projected to go up another $9 or $10 million the next year. So we're looking at $20 million in the next 2 seasons. And in typical NHL fashion, owners are already saying, well, we're going to have our own cap. We're not going to go all the way to the cap. And I'm not here to tell Stan Kroenke what to do. Guy's got more money than God. But, like, is that what the Colorado Avalanche are going to be? They're not going to get up to $110 million or whatever it's going to be. They're going to be a $90 million, $88 million. Like, that to me is a bigger issue than this trade, and that's for guys that are smarter than me. But when I heard that, Jay Swish, I'm just like, here we go already. We're begging to get the cap up, and half the league's not going to go to it. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, that just doesn't seem like a great business model in terms of driving real revenue back into your business, because there are going to be teams that are going to be willing to spend to that number, and now they're going to be the teams winning or surpassing you. So the competitive side of ownership and even just a team in general, that business model doesn't make any sense from the day one. But with the cap going up that much, you just think you could have came to a number or again, just went with this group into the playoffs. Obes is all we're saying over here. Like, it just seemed like the move was a little bit horny.
Yeah. I don't want to say desperate, but horny. That's a good word for it. Yeah, just to take a breather, calm down. Like, you're still negotiating. Now, if Mikko Rantanen's camp said, we're done talking, I'm not going to – Mikko doesn't want to talk to you. He's sick of you. You've insulted him. And, he had talked to Nathan. He had talked to McKinnon and Bedard and said, listen, boys, I'm done. I'm not talking. I'm not signing anymore. Then maybe. But from everything I've heard about Mikko is that he was still willing to talk. And it's like, why would you ship this guy to town right now when, it's right before the Four Nations? You could have talked to his agent through the Four Nations break and just kind of, reset. Like, horny's a great way to describe it. I don't know what the big picture is. Time will tell on this. He's got, a couple months to the trade deadline, month and a half. But as of right now, they're a worse hockey club. And if you're a GM of the fucking NHL team, especially the Avalanche, I think your job is to make you better, no?
100%. And I'm a little bit suspect on what's going to happen on the other side of the coin, Obi, with Mikko Rantanen going to Carolina. Is it going to be a situation similar to Jake Gensel last year when he gets traded to Carolina and then ultimately ends up signing elsewhere? It's like, I think Carolina, you have to make that move, and you have to make moves probably in the offseason to structure it in a way where we can get this guy signed to a dollar amount he'd want, whether it's 12, 13, 14 million bucks. But like, I'm a little cautious on that front of him wanting to re-sign there too. Like, he's going to have his options now. You go to UFA, it's like you're coming out of that relationship. It's like, ooh, what do I see over here? Well, I like a blob. I like brunettes,
Yeah.
I like over here. I want to live on the beach.
Ooh, hey. So,
I just want to give a little credit to this Eric Tolsky, the GM. Listen to this fucking guy. Chemistry and physics from Harvard. PhD, holds 27 U.S. patents, did his postdoctoral study at the Naval Research Laboratory, worked in nanotechnology for 10 years. This guy is like, he's brilliant, and he's gotten Gensel and Rantanen for no first-round picks. And I just kind of wanted to highlight that because that's an impressive move from that guy.
That's an excited Carolina Hurricanes fan in the booth there.
I can't even believe it.
Kyle Conway.
I'm still in shock.
Excited Carolina Hurricanes fan. Caniac, he's excited. He sees fucking parades in his future. He sees fucking getting drunk watching his team win. I like that. However, Go ahead.
They added another fin too, Opes.
Yeah,
They
no.
added another fin.
Listen, I've talked on this podcast, since we started the last 4 years or last 2 years at least, about Carolina not having a superstar. And this is no disrespect to Sebastian Aho or Svechnikov. They're great players. They are real class, four-nation, represent your country, all-star fucking players. But I'm talking superstar. And to me, if you're a Carolina Hurricanes fan like Kyle Conway is in the back, you got to be excited, man. Because this team under Rod the Bod, the structure they play with, the back end they have. Now, goaltending, Freddie's been hurt. We'll see what happens there. There's a guy out here named John Gibson. I don't know if Gibby wants to go anywhere, but if he did, Carolina would be an unbelievable fit for him now. But when you put the best left winger in hockey on there with Sebastian Aho, yeah, you bring Taylor Hall in for depth. But now you look at this hockey club, not just in the Eastern Conference. You look at depth around the league. This team's as good as any team in the league, Jay Swish.
They're a wagon, and the way they play under their coach is fast. It's north-south hockey. They have a lot of good role players there, starting with Jordan Martinook. Will Carrier was a nice pickup in their bottom six. They're heavy. Their defensive core is good, and anytime you got a GM with more degrees than a compass, that's good too. So you got an aggressive owner. That owner there, say what you want about Tommy Dundon. When he wants a player, Obi, he goes, you know what, make it happen. And usually they do in Carolina. So this is an exciting team. I just hope they can get out of the second round and really make a push this year, because the one thing I will say about their game is they rim a lot of pucks. And when you rim a lot of pucks, there's a lot of greasy pucks along the yellow, along the boards. And in that playoff time, it depletes your scoring and your clean entries to the point of you have to win a lot of close, low-scoring games where teams like Florida come at you with so many different waves through the middle of the ice. That's the only thing I would question, is they play a lot out of their own end. It's fast, but it's a lot of rimmed pucks coming out of their own end.
Yeah, I agree with that. And when you talk about their owner, he's not afraid to bring in big names that are on expiring contracts. He's just afraid to give boys, a long-term deal, right? Like he paid all. And he's giving some other guys money, but we'll see if they can get Rantanen in. And you know what it's like, Swish. Like, he goes in there. I'm not sure if he's got a girl or not, but if he's got his girl and his girl likes Carolina and like they go on to win a Stanley Cup or get to the conference finals and he loves living there, maybe he does stay. But I think he's put himself in a situation now where he'll go in there, try to win a Stanley Cup for Carolina. But now that he doesn't have that loyalty to the Avs anymore, I'm going to July 1. I'm getting phone calls. The Chicago Blackhawks, people want to talk about what the Chicago Blackhawks got. Well, they got rid of Taylor Hall, which they wanted to do no matter what, right? So, poor Bedard didn't get anyone to play with. Listen, they're terrible this year. What the Chicago Blackhawks have is cap space. And they're a big market team. Kyle Davidson, I'm sure, if Mikko Rantanen goes to the open market, will give him $14 million. So there you go. Let's just say you bring in a Mikko Rantanen to play with Connor Bedard. Now you're starting to go. But you have cap space in Chicago, Jay Swish. That's what I'm saying. The biggest fucking asset that Connor Bedard has and Kyle Davidson is they have cap space moving forward. They can be a big player, and they're a big market team.
Yep, and it's going to take more than Mikko Rantanen to get that ship turned around. But yes, in that sense, absolutely. If he wants to cash in on strictly a payday and he wants to go get $15 million odd bucks a year on a 7-8 year ticket, and ultimately get a lot of signing bonus money, absolutely. And that's something he's going to definitely have to listen to. And like you said, if I'm Rantanen, unless you win a mug, I'm going to July 1, and I want to be sitting at the table like Rod Tidwell saying, Jerry Maguire, show me the money, baby.
Quan. I came up with that word, Quan. I like that word, yeah. A lot of people have the money, but they don't have the Quan. Hey, that's your boy, Cuba Gooding Jr., fella. Hey, you and Cuba hanging out. I will say this about the Avs fans, and you made a great point about, we're telling Stan Grunke how to run a business. The guy's almost a billionaire. I think he is a billionaire. But I played in Colorado when we stunk. They won't show up. They got the Nuggets. They got the Broncos. Everyone likes smoking weed and going outside and fucking going on hikes. They will not show up. So if they think they're just going to, let Mikko Rantanen leave. Like, yeah, you still have McKinnon and McCarr. I get it. And some good players. But you just let the best left winger in hockey go out the door. So time will tell on that. But good on the Carolina Hurricanes. Kyle's excited. I love their fans down there, man. I love the Caniacs. They tailgate. They get drunk. Love playing in that building. And I'm going to talk about them when we get to DraftKings, baby. But first and foremost, Jay Swiss, it's the Missin Curfew. Dog of the week, fella. I'm going to start off here. It's JT Miller. Everybody knows what's going on. We've been talking about him. Jim Rutherford just came out with a comment saying that basically there's no way that they can keep these guys together. So a trade is going to happen. I don't know if it'll be him or Pettersson, but for him to fight Braden Shen off the opening faceoff, Yeah, he didn't do so well. He took one, but comes back. It's 1-1. That is why I would never trade JT Miller ever, and that's why he's my missing curfew. Dog of the week, Jay Swish.
A guy that shows up to the fight, Obi, is a guy that is a nail gun as far as I'm concerned. If you show up to a fight and however it goes, you were there, you answered the bell, and you know what? You were willing and able to shed your laundry and fight for your team. And fight for a team that, honestly, there's so much fucking drama around right now. Like, why does he feel the need to do that? That was just a credit to the character player JT Miller is, Obi, a heart and soul guy.
I agree, buddy. Well said.
And my missing curfew dog of the week, boys, is going to the chin of the 3-1 third. That is the dirty baby. Shout out to Detroit. Shout out to Dominik Rain or Shine. This kid, boys, 31 years old, almost 500 games in the American Hockey League, the same birth year as Jay Swish, yours truly over here, 1993, out of Detroit, a homegrown kid, played at Victory Honda, Little Caesars growing up. I remember playing against this kid. He was a nail gun. He was tough back then. He's tough now. He's played 9 years in the American Hockey League, and I threw out a tweet about a month ago saying, Stevie Y, if you're listening to the People's Insider fella, give Dominik Rain a chance. Give him a chance. He's having a career year in Grand Rapids. He's been there for 9 fucking years. Your team could use some snarl and some sandpaper. Well, sure as shit, the other night, he got a 2-year NHL deal and made his debut at Little Caesars Arena in front of his kids and his wife. So Dominik Shine to grind 9 years in the AHL, 4 years before that at Northern Michigan, and then 4 years in the USHL. I mean, this guy's road to the National Hockey League is little less than absurd. So I just wanted to give him some love, Obi, and Dominik Shine, baby. What a grind, dude. What a fucking grind. Good on him.
Yeah, and good on you for giving this guy the credit he deserves. And yes, Steve Yzerman is listening to the People's Insider. That is obviously proof in the pudding now, right? He is listening to the People's Insider. Listen, got to be honest, I didn't know who this guy was till you put him on my radar. And then Princey put that clip of him fighting somebody in Grand Rapids where he just absolutely pumps this guy. He's throwing both. Plays his first game, goes in and absolutely annihilates somebody on the forecheck. So for 462 games in the jungle, way to stay with it. But what I love when you said about your little segment there on Mr. Curfew Dog of the Week, this is exactly what the Red Wings need. They need somebody that plays with a little piss and vinegar. And obviously this guy's hungry. He's been down in the jungle forever. I love it, Jay Swish.
Absolutely. And I was talking to a guy that was teammates with him last year. He won a Stanley Cup. And he was advocating for Shiner out of camp 2 years ago. It's like, give this kid give him an NHL deal, give him a 2-way deal. This is exactly what we need in our bottom six. A guy that can, again, for 170 pounds, Obi, he can fucking chuck him. He can hit. And he's one of those guys that comes in your lineup and he knows exactly what he is because he's been that way at the American Hockey League level for goddamn near a decade. Yeah. So it's good to see it's finally paying off. And I just hope, you know what, he can stick and find a role because, man, 31 years old, making your debut. I mean, how many times on the bus you're just like, Jesus Christ, fucking Chrysler plant, here I come.
Exactly, dude. I mean, and listen, to him, enjoy it, fella. Enjoy that private bird. Enjoy that Four-Season hotel. Enjoy all those nice meals. And enjoy going out there and snapping around the National League because it's the best league in the world. But couldn't be happier for him. And I just love that Stevie Y is listening to People's Insider. I just love that, Stevie. That's why you turn the ship around there, fella. That's how you turn the ship around here. DraftKings bets, baby. Presented by DraftKings. DraftKings. The crown is yours. Jay Swish, championship weekend Sunday. In all honesty, fella, it's kind of, I like it more than the Super Bowl. I got together with my OG Newport crew. I went to this place called the Whaler, sat up shop, started drinking. Jameson shots were flowing. It was nice. Listen, I had Eagles money line. I was an absolute lock. Listen, great run by the Commanders. I just thought Barkley was going to run wild, and the Eagles were too good. So that to me was my lock, buddy. And you got to give the Commanders credit. I know you like the money line, but Cinderella story's got to come to an end eventually. You know what I mean?
Oh, my God. Bro, I was watching that game at the Wynn at just one of the sports books there, just a bar right off of it. And I was telling everyone the day before when I was just drunk as hell sitting at Rick Ross's birthday party at Dreas nightclub. Commanders plus 280. Commanders money line plus 280. And they got absolutely shit pumped. I mean, early on, the turnovers cost them. Jaden Daniels, just the interceptions, the fumbles, they were just shaky to begin with. But, man, I didn't think they were going to get piss pumped like that. I mean, that was an absolute beatdown at the bank there in Philly. Like, that was a shit pumping, fella.
That was a shit pumping, and I mean the Jaden Daniels, the year he had was insane, and it's a great run, and it actually went down the way I thought it was, which is nice for once. But then you turn over to the AFC. We touched on Josh Allen in our intro. Listen, I took the Chiefs at the start of the year at plus 350, so I hit that one. That was nice. And now I got the Chiefs. I took them at the start of the year to win the Super Bowl at plus 550. Listen, I'm not betting against Patty Mahomes. I do think the Eagles probably have more talent. But listen, Kansas City's going to be way tougher against the run, and you got Patty Mahomes. I can't see them losing, my man.
No, and again, I don't really know a ton about football. I mean, obviously my dad and uncles played it. I played it a little bit growing up, but just like the play calling, Obi, with Chiefs, it's just there's so much misdirection. There's so many like little 5-yard slants that they get, the yards after the catch. It's like, and then you throw in Patty Mahomes with the coaching and the play calling of Andy Reid. It's just, they're such a well-oiled machine when you watch them. Like, you're never nervous if you have money on the Kansas City Chiefs. You just know somehow they're going to find a way. And isn't it a crazy stat? I think that was their second time scoring 30 points this year.
I know.
And they were 15-2.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And I mean, Allen had his chances too, right? The 4th and 1. Now, there's some conspiracy people thinking he picked it up. The play before that on 3rd down, they thought the tight end got it. But listen, they had their chances that Josh Allen had to go down there and score 7, and they just didn't. For whatever reason, you want to say the refs, whatever, but then you can't put it back in Patty Mahomes' hand because he had his chance to knock him out and go up by 8 or whatever and make it, at least they can't beat you. Gave the ball back to him. Corn dogs, Jackie. Corn dogs.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, and you go back to that 4th and 1 or whatever, and some people say, oh, yeah, you take a still screenshot on Vizio 48-inch TV and saying, oh, my God, he got that first down. But I don't know. I just, if that's what you're leaving your chance to, trying to beat arguably the greatest quarterback of all time in the making, well, Obi, I think, like we talked about it in the intro, it's just if you're going to go into Arrowhead, you got to have a guy like Burrow, a dog, to go in there, and you got to take a game. You got to fucking go in there and just take one from them because they're not just going to let you beat them.
No, that's the thing. And you talked about it earlier about the coaching. I was watching McAfee and the boys snap it around this morning, and they're giving Andy Reid tons of credit. Obviously, great play calling, and Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, is an absolute beast. I mean, the way he draws up those blitzes. But he talked about having Patty Mahomes and Travis Kelce, basically players out there that are coaches. Like when something's going on, Travis Kelce can move around, and Patty Mahomes knows. So not only do you have the best coaches, you have 2 of the smartest players that have been there, and there's no panic in their game ever.
Yeah, and it's just crazy, like, they're doing this, Obi, without a perennial number 1 receiver. It's like Patty Mahomes is like, it's kind of like the Brady method where the Patriots can just turn these 2nd, 3rd receivers into bona fide number 1s. Isn't it crazy how it's just like a quarterback has, I mean, it is a quarterback, but at the same time, it's just like these guys, these unbelievable quarterbacks that can sling it, they just make these receivers. It's crazy.
Crazy. And the game plan, and they just know that Patty Mahomes can find the guys in the slot. So, not surprised to see him there again. I need him. I'm not going to hedge it either. I'm going to fucking double down on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl to see if I can hit a home run here. And last but not least, in our DraftKings bets, baby, Kyle, as a Hurricanes fan, I don't know if you're excited about this or not excited about this, but I heard the Rantanen news. I was a little half buzzed after Fella Friday Golf. Go to my DraftKings app, check them what they're at, plus 850. Yeah, I took the Carolina Hurricanes at plus 850 to win the Stanley Cup, boys. I could not touch it, Kyle, after all the Rantanen news, boys. So, hey, I'm back on board, fella. I'm back on board.
It scares me, but fella, I'm in. I'm all in, and I love it. I love that you're putting some money down. Anyone out there, get on in. The Hurricanes are a wagon.
You boys better hope that Matty Tkachuk ain't going in there and doing his old celebration where he just hits the old walk-off, and he's like, all right, on to the next one. See you next week.
I was just going to say that. I'm like, if there's one guy that doesn't give a fuck about Mikko Rantanen coming there is Matty Tkachuk and the Florida Panthers. And they've had their number the last 2 or 3 years. They've had their number again. They're going to have to go through them most likely, right? They're not in the same division, so maybe they'll catch a break well, right now, the first-round matchup, is this right? Would be the Florida Panthers and the Ottawa Senators. How great would that be? Matty versus Brady. How great would that be?
That would be great. And just going back to not only that series, but You know Matty Tkachuk going into this Four Nations tournament, Obes, is going to be giving old Mikko Rantanen the old stinky mitt, or he'll be running him a little extra harder.
A little stank guy. The stank guy.
A little stank guy, a little dust up, because he's just, foreshadowing what might happen in the playoffs. He's just one of those guys. He's petty like that. He's ultra competitive. And when he sees a trade like that, he's like, all right, let's roll up our sleeves. You guys want to play now? All right, let's play.
Yeah. No, the Panthers, I just think eventually they got to get tired, but maybe they won't. I mean, living in South Florida helps that. But speaking of Matty Tkachuk and the Four Nations, we'll be there getting absolutely pinned, fella. I can't wait to see you. But did you see him wearing those Sherwood USA gloves in practice last week, Princey put up? Those are nice. I like how they got the stars and stripes right on the finger, Team USA logo on the pant. I'm like, that's above National League. That is international play, best on best, fella.
Yeah, I look crispy, and it's always funny while you see the Nerd Biscuit beat reporters always tweeting out, like, after morning skate or practice on an off day. It's like, did you see these guys breaking in their Four Nations stuff? It's like, fellas, yeah, they're going to have to do it eventually, but yeah, that did look good.
Yeah, I just thought those gloves looked sharp.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, imagine being that good that you just had to break in, like, for me, Team Canada gear, or for you like, hey, here comes your USA gloves, Chucky. You want to wear them? Yeah, I'll break them in today. Fuck it, why not? I might as well. I mean, it's just like, that's next level. Like, I played in the National League, but that is just next level.
Oh, and then you get the custom sticks too. A lot of those companies like Sherwood will give you the custom stars and stripes if for USA or for Canada. They'll work in that color scheme. I mean, that's when you know you're almost in a different league than the National League. You know what I mean? Like you're in the same league, but you're above all 90% of the guys.
You're in the really high income tax part of the National Hockey League. You're in the really high. Yeah, it's funny you say that. Like, I had a good career or whatever, but even each team I went on, like playing in Anaheim and looking at Chris Pronger and Scott Niedermayer and Teemu Selanne, it's like, okay, those guys are, and then you go to Tampa and Marty St. Louis, Vinny LeCavalier, Brad Richards, Dan Boyle. They're like, they're in the NHL, but they're above you. And then the Sedins and, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the league is filled with tons of good players, but the top 1% that we're about to watch, they're just completely.
It's the league within the league.
Yeah, exactly. The league within the league. Well said.
It's the high six figures guys and the 7-figure guys, and then you got the tax bracket above is the 8-figure guys.
Yeah,
and that's what they're in.
They're all rich. And
they're all rich.
They're all rich, and the game, I don't want to say it's easy for them because it's not easy for anyone, but it's pretty easy for them, and they know they're going to get their minutes, and their paychecks are huge. It's got to be nice, right? It's got to be even better because the National League was great for me as an average player, but those guys must really enjoy coming to the rink, Swish.
Oh, 100%. And as long as you can skate, Obi, you're going to be good because you're not going to get a hit as much, but you still got to stay with the legs in terms of you got to be able to keep up to the pace of play. So as long as you're with it that way in the trend of where the game is going, you can make a lot of dough in that league, my friend.
We got 30 games left, 32 for some teams. I would love nothing more than a Florida Panthers, Ottawa Senators first-round matchup in the Atlantic Division. I don't know if Big Walt and the boys' mom would want that, but that would be just for the first round. Imagine we get Matty versus Brady, Ottawa back in the playoffs. Let's go. That would be the highlight of the first round, if you ask me.
Oh, my God, and especially you got to factor in Nick Bobby Cousins in there, the old Belleville boy, played against his old squad, just mucking it up with Bennett, and I'm sure there'd be a ton of bad blood come game 3 or 4. Maybe it would just be like the Fuck Fest back in the day, the old Florida Fuck Fest, as you guys used to call, like game 1, just like smash mouth hockey. Like that would be crazy.
Yeah. Right now in the East, it would be Washington versus Tampa, Toronto versus Boston again, Florida, Ottawa, and Carolina, Jersey.
Carolina, Jersey. Wow, that's a good matchup.
Yeah, I would take the Hurricanes, although I love the Devils. Fuck, it's hard to bet against Frosty and the boys. But, hey, we're getting there, fella. We're getting there. So DraftKings, get some skin in the game. Jay Swish, get this guy a Labatt Blue, fella.
Presented by Labatt Blue Light, the pristine Pilsner Obes. Enjoy your beers together so you can live life to the power of we. Folks, always enjoy responsibly. Labatt Blue, Buffalo, New York, Chippewa, Fella.
Oh, is that crispy? Is that crispy, fella? Someone send that to Labatt Blue and tell them to hire Jay Swish as their official voiceover of Labatt Blue Light. Kyle, let's start with you, fella. You're dishing a couple Labatt Blues, buddy. The first guy, the Columbus defenseman you're about to dish it to, this guy deserves a 24-pack.
Yeah, boys. Zach Werenski, just career year this year. He's got a career high right now. Well, not yet. 54 points right now. His career high was 57 last season. This guy was on a 19-game point streak at home, 13 goals and 23 assists in that time. He's playing almost 27 minutes a game now. That's up like almost 2 minutes from last season. And just everything he's gone through, the mental battle, being the leader on that team. That guy deserves a case, like you said. And let's just keep watching the Blue Jackets get after it. It's a fun team to watch right now.
It's a great team to watch. He's been unbelievable. They're a fun team to cheer for. You got another one there, buddy. Don't stop dishing. You got another blue light.
The other one is Matthias Janmark. Fuck, this guy went 37 games with no goal. And you boys said it. You boys said it right. Get to the net. Get your ass in front of the net. Good things happen, and that's exactly what happened for him the other night. He took one off the hip, it looked like, right into the net. So, hey, Janmark, just keep going to the net, bud, and maybe you'll get a few more.
Yeah, listen, I love the depth of the Oilers up front, and he's one of the big reasons. I watched them play last night against Seattle. McDavid was buzzing, but their depth of him and Henrique and Brown on that third line, that's as good as any third line. Arvidsson's starting to buzz, but yeah, Janmark, he plays the right way. So, Kyle, that a boy. I love that you're dishing. Jay Swish, fella, who you dishing a blue light to?
Yeah, get this guy a beer, fellas. We're going to skate away from the sheet, if you know what I mean, and we're going to transfer it over to, a president. Barack Obama. Get this guy a Labatt Blue. There are rumors out there as the People's Insider sitting here saying, he might have just been sliding into Jennifer Aniston's DMs. Now, we can't confirm that via real sources, but that is the rumor out there. So if that's indeed true, wow. Barack Obama, if you did Tucker, solid tuck, fella, get yourself a beer. Tell Mike Obama, you can sit this one out because Jenny is stepping in. And like a fine wine she is, fellas. Oh, my God. That is a minx.
Yeah. Well said. Man, Jennifer Aniston, I used to just love her in Friends, right? No bra, just nip-ons the entire show. She was such she's still a gorgeous, gorgeous woman. But remember her back in those days? God, she was just perfect.
So, is there just screws loose up there? Or is she just single forever?
I'm sure Brad did a bit of a number on her back in the day. Hey, old Brad Pitter. I'm sure she's a little damaged goods, and she's been through Hollywood forever, and
Right. Maybe Jeremy's a little fucking crazy.
Yeah. Exactly. What do you think I put in my hair to make it stand up slick? Listen. If Barack did it, I ain't judging him, buddy. It's Jennifer Aniston. So get yourself a Labatt Blue. Jay Swish, you're a fucking beauty, by the way. I'm going to go back to the National League. Tough act to follow, Jay Swish, because you're just a beauty fella. But the Calgary Flames, both these guys, Jacob Pelche and Dustin Wolf, get yourself a Labatt Blue. I went max bet the other night, Calgary against Buffalo, and I'm sitting there thinking, Obes, you're a real loser that you even have this much money on a max bet on the Calgary Flames. But the Flames, they did it for me. This Dustin Wolf played unbelievable. Honestly, Jay Swish, Buffalo should have been up. Could have been 4-5-1 in the first period. Dustin Wolf played unbelievable. And then this Jacob Pelche, 1-1. Great kid, brings energy. Although I don't know how I feel about he goes around and kisses guys on the helmet. How do you feel about that? I'm all for giving the boys a hug and a real, fucking A, boy, and I guess the helmet's better than the cheek, but are we okay with kissing on the helmet in the National League, or how do we feel about that? Because I'm not sure as an old, rusty, broken down D-man.
Don't kiss me anywhere. As a
yeah.
Rule of thumb. I get that you're French, and I get that that love language is a little bit different. You probably kiss your family, maybe on the lips. I've seen some French people do that where you'll kiss your dad on the lips. Now, listen, I'm not judging. But if I'm playing in the National League as your teammate, just don't kiss me anywhere.
Yeah.
Give me a hug. Give me a bro shake, fella. Great game. We stole 2 points there. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, well said. I don't even need to tag that. I would say leave the kissing to at the bar after the game, for the finer things in the National League. But rolling on here, I get this guy, Labatt Blue. Anton Forsberg. I had the Ottawa Senators my lock of the week in the Battle of Ontario. I watched the game. Tight check-in game, actually. It was both teams. I got to give the Sens some credit. I thought, listen, they play with that structure. My boy Travis Green is rubbing off on them. Thought they did a hell of a job. Forsberg had to make some big saves. He got it done. They won 2-1 in the Battle of Alberta. So Forsberg, get yourself Labatt Blue. And last but not least here, Darnell Nurse, which I just found out they call him Doc. Is that because his last name's Nurse? They call him Doc? Is that what it is? I'm assuming, yeah. Yeah, okay. That's why I figured that out. But nobody's been harder on Darnell Nurse than me over the last couple of years. And I often said the only reason I'm hard on him is because he's making $9 million. And when you make that big of money and you have the best player in the world and Draisaitl and you're trying to win a Stanley Cup and they're up against it, you got to be good. Well, ever since Ryan Reeves fucking almost took his head off in Toronto, and people may laugh or whatever, but I'm telling you, since he got his bell rung and came back, Darnell Nurse has played unbelievable. He had a great pass last night to Corey Perry on a breakaway. His gap is better. His stick is better. His decision-making is better. He's playing within himself. Good first pass. That's all he has to do. So Darnell Nurse, as the boys call you, Doc, get yourself a Labatt Blue, fella. I've been hard on you. But Swishy, I like his game right now, my man.
Sometimes you just need to get your block knocked off.
You do.
It's like your buddy that's, when you're growing up with them is 16, 17, 18, 20, he's cocky at the bar. Sometimes that guy just needs to get sucker punched, and it actually makes him a better person for it. So maybe, just maybe, Darnell Nurse taking that hit, maybe just put him on, a higher alert, more compete, whatever it is. He's more assertive out there. You say he's got a better gap. You're watching him, you're like, wow, this guy's a player now. So maybe that was just a wake-up call he needed.
Yeah, I agree. And in all seriousness, as ex-players, that's true. When you get your bell rung in the first period of a game, you fucking wakes you up. You get her going. So, Darnell Nurse, good on you. Get those Labatt Blues in you, boys. Moving on here, I'm missing Curfew. It is milk carton time. Jay Swish, he's going off the ice, and he's going to the frozen tundra for a little milk carton city here, fella.
Yeah, and it was actually, I got to give credit where credit's due because I'm not a guy going into comedy clubs stealing different things and bits, but it was actually brought to my attention by my good friend Bob Gucci, the Heat Daddy, and he's
Bobby Gucci.
What is with these white tight ends? Like these guys are just these guys right now are just letting us all down as white dudes. Like you got Kincaid dropping balls, you got Mark Andrews who is basically be on semi-seclusion similar to Steve Bartman back in the day with that drop. It's like, what is going on in the National Football League with white tight ends? And these guys are just not pulling their weight for us white boys out there. It's like there's only a select few positions as a white dude you can play as a receiver, tight end being one of them, and they're just letting it down, literally dropping the ball for all of us. So I just wanted to put white tight ends via Bobby Gucci on the milk carton because, Obi, it hasn't been perfect over the last couple of weeks for these big boys.
No, and that is well done. Good job by you and Bobby Gucci. Yeah, it's the position where they count on us white boys to lock it down. Good hands, big boys. Tight end's always open, and they've just been letting the fellas down. So I love that a little milk carton material for the boys. Put this guy in the milk carton. Unfortunately, KK97, Kirill Kaprizov, surgery. He's not done for the year, but he's out for I think 4 to 6 weeks. This one sucks. Jay Swish sucks for him because earlier in the year, we were talking about how, he was going to get $14 million, $14.5 million. And I'm still sure he's going to get paid. I'm sure Billy Guerin will take care of him. But from his perspective, KK97 I'm talking about, it sucks for him. And for the Minnesota Wild and Bill Guerin, who I absolutely respect, they're hanging tough. I just don't know how far they can get without this guy. They got a great team. John Hines is doing a hell of a job coaching Swishy. But now we're into the crunch time here after the Four Nations. The games are going to be coming quick at these guys. You're going to need to score goals. And with no KK97, I'm concerned about the Wild, my man.
Yeah, and they're still reaping those repercussions of the Suter and the Preezy buyouts where they have $15 million odd dollars in dead cap. So they're not able to make any moves in terms of bringing guys in with unless money is going out. So this guy on the shelf for 4 to 6 weeks, whatever it is, and then you got the Marcus Styrofoam Chin Johansson on the shelf too. So you're down a couple forwards there. Jonas Brodin is banged up as well. So I don't know, Obes. Obviously, they had the hot start, but we've been kind of just reluctant or a little bit just tread lightly with this team all season because, like we said, we didn't know if they came out of the gates really hot and ultimately you're going to simmer down. And in this situation like this with Kaprizov, well, it doesn't help them making a push late into the season during the dog days.
No, it doesn't. And selfishly, I love watching him play too. He's one of those guys you could put him up there with McDavid, McKinnon, Draisaitl, Rantanen, Matthews. Like he's a fun guy to watch. And the amount of hockey I'm watching, it's nice to watch these elite guys go. So rest up quick. Last but not least, in the milk carton, which we'll parlay in the rumor mill. Alex Pietrangelo is pulled out of the Four Nations. Listen, I get it. The guy's got 3 kids. He's won 3 cups or 2 cups. He's been banged up. Vegas is, right there to make another run. I get it. I'm not going to I'm not going to chirp Pietrangelo for not wanting to go and play in the Four Nations. However, what it did, and that parlays into our rumor mill, as it's opened up a little spot on the right side there. It's opened up a little spot on the right side there. I've reached out to a couple people at Hockey Canada. No response back yet, but listen, I hear what Drew Doughty's saying, and does it make sense that Drew's been out all year? And I love Drew Doughty. He's a great guy, a great player. He's had a great career, and I'm sure he'd fit in right away if they went in there and he wanted to play. But for me, I want a guy who's been playing. And yeah, this is biased, and I know everyone knows he's my boy, but I've been watching the Flames play a lot. It's Weegsy, baby. Mackenzie Weegar, I think he deserves it. To me, they need a right-handed shot. And I hope John Cooper, Doug Armstrong, and the boys in Hockey Canada give him some love. But for me, let's get Weegsy, baby, on that Team Canada. He's absolutely flying. Power play, penalty kill, young legs. That's what I'm saying, Swishy.
Yeah, and a guy that's been playing all season, Obes, and a former 20-goal scorer last year. But look, if you put Weegsy on that team, he's not a guy that's going to have to come in and play power play. He can be that silky 4, 5, 6 defenseman, however you want to use him on that right side. And he's a guy that can play any way you want. He can play physical. He fought the other night using his left. He's a guy that can score. So he's a very versatile and almost Swiss Army-like defenseman because he does a lot of really good things well. And one thing about Weegsy, baby, and I know you love the kid, you played with him, but his skating has gotten a lot better over the last few years. And his glide is really good. And the one thing I noticed with him is when he's going back for pucks, he's so confident in being able to round the net and make plays. He's not just dinking it up the boards. It's like, this guy's a legit player, Obes, and I hope, just based on what you tell me, he gets a look because he seems like he's just as good on the ice as he is off.
Yeah, he's a beauty. And I agree with everything you just said there. That's well said on Weegsy Baby's game right now. Looking at this list that Princey put together, obviously Monty Kid fella, I would love him on there, but Dougie Hamilton to me is a guy that I'm sure they're talking about just because of his size and the way he can shoot the puck. I wouldn't take him, Swish, but when I see this short list, and he's a guy that I think they might be talking about. That's all I'm saying, fella.
Yeah, and look, he's a good player. I just always go back to when I don't know if anyone remembers, and Princey can pull up the clip, but do you remember like 5 years ago in the playoffs when he was playing, I forget who he was playing for, but he was playing against Ovi. Oh, he's in Carolina. He was playing against Ovi, and he pulled up on that puck. Like, he literally pulled the chute, going back into the trapezoid to pick up a puck, and Ovi just ended up, like, taking it from him and scoring, like, 6 seconds later. So I just think, like, I don't know. I just think what I'm saying is Weegsy, I think, has that more fuck you in your face, I'm going to play hard, and what Team Canada needs on the back end versus Dougie Hamilton. Because you have guys on the Canadian roster on the back end that can run the power play already. Yeah. Weezy can go in there and he can slot in any way you want.
Yeah, that's well said. And another guy, if you want to go on, just probably deserves it and just great, is Chris Tanev in Toronto. I mean, if you're looking for a guy to come in and just block shots and be a warrior, this guy's been a warrior all year for the Leafs. But I'm hoping it's Weegsy, baby. Time will tell on that. As the rumor mill continues, Kyle Conway has another little fucking rumor here for the boys. Eh, fella?
Yeah, boys. I've just been seeing some rumblings from the fellas of a possible JT Miller to the Bruins. I'm just kind of seeing that they're a dark horse. They are in communication. Who knows? In the next couple of days, we're going to see these guys go completely different places, I'm sure. But I just want to throw that one out there because the Bruins could use a guy like him that could really help them down the middle. And they need someone like JT Miller over there, someone in the locker room. They lost all their leadership over there over the last couple of years. Marchand is still doing what he can, but JT Miller, that'd be a good fit, I think.
Be a great fit. Great fit. Right now, Boston's sitting wild card 1 with 56 points. I'll tell you why this one might make sense, because everyone knows that Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin are desperate to get this done. Well, Don Sweeney and Cam Neely may be just as desperate, on the other hand, to fucking get this ship back turned around and where they want to go. So if you could get a fair value deal, maybe Boston is the best place because they're underachieving right now. Cam Neely and Don Sweeney may be on the hot seat. People in Boston are booing. Like, you know what I mean, Jay Swish? This could be where Patrick Allvin could be like, all right, boys, we're both not where we want to be. Let's make a good hockey trade here for everyone involved. Because I think if you ask the other teams, Carolina, especially now after they made that thing, they're probably out of it. But even you go Jersey or Long Island or these other teams, I don't think they're as desperate as the Boston Bruins are right now.
No, and in the Boston Bruins, what they need, and it's been evident for years, Obes, since they lost David Krejci and Patrice Bergeron, is a number one center.
Yeah.
And they right now they have, I would say, 3 third-line centers. The way Elias Lindholm is playing, you could argue he might be a 2 or a 2B. Zaka in that same category, and Charlie Coyle on a Stanley Cup winning team is a third-line center. So that is a team that needs a first-line center. Former 100-point scorer JT Miller plays the same style as what Boston embodies. Just curious, we touched on it a few weeks ago. What would be going back the other way? Would it be Zaka? Would it be Lori? What are you dangling in terms of the carrot there? But I just think that would be a great fit for not only the Boston Bruins, but JT Miller with that fuck you attitude in Boston could go a long way.
I agree. Moving on, the rumor mill. Shout out to our boy Dave Pagnotta, Fourth Period Magazine. I heard some rumblings about this last week. Pettersson to Buffalo for Dylan Cousins and Bo Byram. Well, listen, Dylan Cousins is kind of underachieved in Buffalo, but fuck, a lot of people go to Buffalo and underachieve. But Bo Byram is a kid that I absolutely love as a player and a person. He's a BC boy. You bring him in there, and now you got Quinn Hughes. Underneath him, you got Bo Byram. I mean, 2 of the best skating defensemen in the league. I think Dylan Cousins coming in to play for Talks would be great. I've said this all along. I would trade Pettersson over JT Miller. I don't think he's going to turn into the player that everyone thinks he is. I've never liked him from fucking day one, to be honest with you. To me, if there's any truth to this, I would make this trade, Jay Swish.
So, Obi, I just look at these 2 players, and obviously Pettersson being younger, being more talented on paper, his skill level is off the charts. And when he wants to go, he can go with the top dogs in the league. But when the game gets tough, who do you want on your team? Do you want JT Miller or Elias Pettersson? And when you get hit, or maybe you get your head run into the boards with a turnbuckle, or you have to play through a shoulder injury or a hip, who do you want on your team willing your team to the top? And that's JT Miller. And that's what I go back to. And JT is no slouch himself in the department of putting up points and the way he can produce. We've said it all along. I would just tread lightly with parting ways with JT Miller, man. I'd lose sleep over that if I was a GM.
Yeah, and listen, there's a lot of Canucks fans, obviously Mr. Curfew fans, and hit me up on Twitter. Like, listen, I would say I haven't got many Canucks fans now. Mainly the Canucks fans that probably want to trade JT Miller don't follow me because they know how I feel and probably don't like my outlook on hockey. But the beauties that do follow me, none of them want to trade JT Miller. None of the fan base that reach out to me is like, yeah, let's get rid of him. Like, they all know that he's a dying breed. But they got to figure it out sooner or later. Huge win for him last night going into St. Louis, by the way. That was a big-time win. But rumor mill, we love throwing it around here at Missin Curfew. But back up the Brinks truck. Beep, beep, beep. Back it up, boys. We'll start with Tony DeAngelo. 1 year, $775. The People's Insider, Jay Swish, you were rumbling about him leaving Russia. You knew it was going to happen. Lou steps up. To me, I like Klingberg in Edmonton. I think it's a chance, but I would have brought Tony DeAngelo into Edmonton over Klingberg. Not even close. It's not even comparable to me.
Yeah, and listen, I would have too, especially with Tony D playing well in Russia and Klingberg coming off surgery. I think Tony D is the fresher defenseman. He was lighting it up in Russia, came back, and then ultimately ended up signing with the Islanders. But I just love the Godfather stepping in. I love Sweet Lou saying, I'm going to take my Italian descendant as the Providence gangster, and I'm just going to silence everybody. I'm going to bring him in. I'm going to block out all the noise Tony's dealing with. And you know what? We'll just handle this internally. And Tony, just go play hockey, man. Get back to loving the game, playing in the National League, enjoying the fruits of your labor, coming into a team and ultimately helping us out with Dobson being out and Mikey Riley, who's a friend of the show, being out as well. And I just love the Godfather of hockey, Obes, stepping in and saying, you know what? Whatever this guy's rap is around him and the media doesn't like him and he's outspoken on Twitter and he maybe sides one way politically, I'm just going to come in and take all those distractions away from him and just let him focus on hockey. And that's why Sweet Lou, say what you want about him, but he's the gangster from Providence and the Godfather of hockey.
Yeah, he is the Godfather. Fuck, I didn't know that Dobson was hurt. Him and Pollock are hurt, eh? Fuck. Those are 2 guys I thought the Oilers should be calling about. I don't know if they could get either one of them, but Dobson for Bouchard and somebody else. I mean, that Dobson's nasty. Nasty.
Yeah, he's really good. He's just smart. What he maybe lacks in foot speed, he's just silky with the puck, especially just massaging it on the power play.
Yeah, so Tony D, welcome back to the National League, fella. Will Borgen traded in the Capo Caco deal, 5 years, $20.5 million. I just wanted to say, here's a kid that I watched him play in Seattle, and I was like, he's a National League good player. Comes to New York, catch lightning in the ball. Next thing you know, he's got 5 years, 20 and a half. So good on him. And to fucking kids out there that are in bad situations, one trade, one new opportunity, boom. Next thing you know, you got a 5-year deal in Manhattan, having the time of your life. So last but not least, to back up the Brinks truck, Logan Thompson, 6 years, $35 million. Dude, this guy's been kicking. Well deserved again, Jay Swish. Well deserved. This is like, helps Vegas win a cup. Things don't work out there. Goes to a veteran team. Now you got a 6-year deal worth 35. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a guy that was very unhappy he wasn't playing during that cup run. That is evident. And he basically, I think went up to Kelly McCrimmon, who he had played for in Brandon at some point during the last couple off season, and said, you know what, if you can move me, I'd like to go elsewhere. Aiden Hill clearly grabbed that number one job. And Thompson bets on himself, gets traded to Washington, goes in there and signs a 6x6. How are you? So sometimes, Obi, you just got to bet on yourself. And you know what? As a winner, as he was the backup, he's winning again as a number one guy, and he gets rewarded for it. 36 bananas, fella. That'll keep the lights on.
That will keep the lights on. And that's just two guys, like you said. You made a great point. Hey, I want to change of pace. Okay, we're going to ship you to Washington. And then, booyah, next thing you know. So it's all about opportunity. Jay Swish, it's the Kits Dish of the Week, presented by Kits Eye Care. You've seen us and the fellas rock them. Now it's time to get yourself into the game. Go to kits.com and grab a pair of progressive glasses starting at just $78. Use the code CURFEW to grab your pair today. You'll thank us later. Fuck, Jay Swish. I like these bad boys, buddy. I can see better. They look good. My girl Mac Miller likes them on me. She said you look good in them. I'm like, hey, I'll take that.
Yeah, I like the shades on you, brother. Are those prescription too, or that strictly style?
No, that's prescription. I went in there, got my prescription, go right online. Boom, it's so easy, Swish. You just pump it in. Booyah. Hit the promo code curfew. Next thing you know, you got a knock on your door. Your Kits Eyewear's there. But I like changing up my look. It's a little fresh look.
You look like you're in a managerial role, Obes. You're sitting up top. You're watching the game. You look serious about scouting. Like you look like you're a fucking GM with those.
I feel like a G. Let's trade that. He's done. Get him out of here. Have him. He's not playing next week. I feel like a GM, fella. I feel like a GM. It's the Kits Dish of the Week. Leon Draisaitl had his Kits Eyewear on. This is just such a sick play. He gets it in his own zone, strong as a bull, sees Hyman because of Kits Eye Care. You can see Hyman and throws a backhand sauce from his own zone all the way to the far blue line. Hyman picks it up, kind of takes it in like Hyman does it and puts it home. But Leon Draisaitl, what a backhand sauce, fella. That is the Kits Eye Care Dish of the Week, Jay Swish. Anytime you can go backhand sauce to 3 zones on a guy's tape off the boards and he goes in and scores, that's the National League, fella.
Oh, man, especially with that pizza shovel he has, just shoveling Neapolitans all day, and all of a sudden it's just a little flick of the wrist. How are you? Across 3 fucking lines. A little cheddar is always better for Hyman. Yeah, that was nasty, fella.
I'll tell you what, they're rolling right now. I mean, they're rolling. McDavid's back. He was buzzing. Seattle, though, Seattle's lost like the last 8 to the Oilers. But listen, I just love their hockey club, and Draisaitl and Hyman and McDavid, when you put those guys together, they're basically unstoppable, Swish.
They are, and I caught the game a little bit last night, and I love tuning into the intermission, especially listening to the Oil side of the cast and Bob Stauffer. Now, Bob Stauffer's a guy that I don't know if you've had on the show, Obes, but we got to get the big fella on here to talk shop. Hopefully he'd stop by, and I love when he tweets out just different things about like the Oilers, like going in on a back-to-back 2 weeks ago and beating Colorado in the Mile High Cities. Like the Oilers showed a good chin. It's like he always incorporates chin, which I love over here. So maybe we have Staufs on and break down Edmonton Oiler hockey going into the playoff because he seems like a good shit.
Yeah, we got to get Bob. I used to see him at Loops' golf tournament every summer, every August in Edmonton. That guy knows more about the Oilers than anybody. I mean, he knows the ins and outs. He's good on TV. I like that he doesn't take himself too seriously when he's on there. He knows his shit. He knows everything about the Oilers. And yeah, their whole broadcast with DeBrusque and who does the play-by-play? What's his name again? He's a beauty too.
It's not Gene.
No, Gene Principe is the guy who does their intermission. He's a legend.
I mean, talk about always having a wet mop, too,
yeah.
Gene, that perm.
Yeah, and he always has like these funny little sayings that he ties into the end of his segments. Like Gene Principe is an absolute pro. So moving on here, around the National League, the finer things of the National League. Kyle, they've been doing these quarter teams. You like this Detroit Red Wings team, eh? All these names, Kyle, just so you know, brought back fucking nightmares for me, bud. A lot of minuses and a lot of long nights at the Joe back in the day, fella.
I just saw the post, and I've been seeing all the teams. You know, the Ducks had a nice one, but fuck, like, how do you beat this team in their prime?
You don't.
Even that second team.
Yeah, you don't.
I can imagine why you go negative. Holy.
Yeah, I mean, you used to go in there, the old Joe had that smell of beer and peanuts and championships, and they'd be playing soccer, and Datsuk and Zetterberg and Cronwall and all these guys, Lindstrom and Polstrom, and and then before that, Fedorov, Shanny, Chelios. I mean, there was a run of all runs. I mean, they're fighting their way back in there right now with Todd McClellan, but man, when I played in the league, Jay Swish, and you went into the Joe, some long nights, my man.
Yeah, it just smelled. I just remember watching games in the Joe. It just smelled like just stale urine, burnt popcorn, and just championships. Yeah. And it just smelled like all those seats were just soaked with whatever champagne, hiss, who knows. And every time you go in there, and you just knew they were going to win. You watch, I go in and play the local teams in AAA hockey, playing minor hockey, and you go to a game at the Joe, and it's just like, well, whoever they're playing, they're piss pumping.
Yeah.
You guys have to, like, with Cronwall out there, like, was a big guy like you, Obes, like, was everyone keeping their head up when he was out there?
Well, our forwards were. The thing about Cronwall that I never liked is that he would never fight after some of these big hits. And, like, they all weren't clean. Like, some of his clean ones I had no problem with, but he'd get ones where the guy didn't have the puck and he'd fucking lay him out, and someone would try to fight him and he wouldn't fight him. But, I mean, when we went into Detroit, not so much for me because I was a D, but Kyle, our forwards, yeah, you had to know where he was all the time on the ice.
Who do you relate that to now? Maybe Trouba? Like, who does that now?
Nobody, but probably Trouba. But he hasn't gotten anyone in a while either. I think he's kind of just sitting back, doesn't want to get suspended.
He's at the beach.
Living out in Cali. He's like, I'm not going to try to kill anyone. I'm going to get suspended.
Yeah, and what am I hitting for? We're gonna win 18 games this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, save the money.
Last but not least, here I'm missing Curfew around the National League. This guy is maybe the ultimate National Leaguer, Sidney Crosby. There was some rumors, Jay Swish, after the Rantanen deal. People were saying, "Oh, maybe we're going to bring Sidney Crosby into Colorado," who I think everybody in hockey, to a certain extent, would love to see that. Him and McKinnon play together. Crosby back on a good team and back in the playoffs. But he came out with a statement basically saying, "I'm always going to be a Penguin." So if you're Kyle Dubas and the front office staff there, that's nice to see. And I just I talked to Getzy about it when he played here for the Ducks. Like when you can play for one team your whole career, it's very rare. Obviously, Sid with his 3 cups and everything he's done for the city of Pittsburgh, it means a lot to him. But doesn't sound like he's going anywhere, fella.
Do you think that has any idea or theory behind how superstitious Sid is, where he just doesn't want to change up his environment of where he is in the world? He loves his spots in Pittsburgh. He knows he does this at exactly 2:15 on a game day when I'm at home. I know I eat at this spot. I have my chef here. My girl comes in these days when we're on the, what I mean? Is there something like that where Sid just doesn't want change in that regard?
It's what, only he knows the answer to that, but I wouldn't put it past him, bud. I mean, like you said, everything you just said there about his superstition, and I bumped into Stammer the other night, and I was talking to Stammer, and even he said, like, when you first, a lot of changes, right? Like, Stammer had been in Tampa forever, and then you go to Nashville, and you got to get your family and your wife situated, and before you know it, the season starts. So like, there is something to be said for that, and maybe Sid's at the point of his career where, listen, I got my 3 cups. I don't want to change. I don't want to have to move. I don't want to have to get a different routine. And maybe he still believes in the Pittsburgh Penguins that as long as he's playing, and I'm sure he believes this because he's an elite player, that they can compete. And as long as he's on the team, he thinks they have a chance. But for me, I wish he would go somewhere else just because it'd be nice to see him play somewhere else and go back and try to win another championship.
100%. And it is rumored that Fenway Sports is selling a minority stake, possibly, of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I want to see how that develops. But I also want to see, and I want to know, who is Kyle Dubas' agent? I need that guy. Yeah. Because the moves that he's made to bring in Erik Karlsson, didn't love that. Signed Tristan Jarry to 5.3 times 5. Sends him down to Wilkes-Barre. It's like, what is the plan here for Sidney Crosby to be competitive in this new deal he signed? And even if he wants to play a year or two after that, it's like, the Penguins felt like, and they don't have anything really in the system. It's like they're not going to be good for a bit here unless they really reload on the fly. But that kind of seems like a far-fetched dream right now.
I would say he has a harder GM job than Mike Greer right now. And Mike Greer's in San Jose, in Man Jose, as you would say. I would say Kyle Dubas right now has the hardest job to how he's going to get rid of all these veteran assets. Well, Sid came out and obviously, like we're talking about right now, doesn't want to get traded. So that for him is like, that's got to help him, because imagine being the guy who has to trade Sidney Crosby. Like, even if he wanted out, that would be a tough thing to handle probably. But dude, he's put himself in this situation, and he has his fucking hands full trying to figure out what they're going to do in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I don't even know where you start, because a lot of your assets are all depreciating. It's not like anyone's going to take on Evgeny Malkin, even though he's a solid player, but he still has 3 or 4 years at $6 million. Carlson, you're going to be retaining a ton of salary. Letang, it's just like, I don't know. And your other pieces there are getting older too. Brian Russ, some of the complementary players, Goodwill Bunting, he's at an okay year, but it's not like they're moving the needle to the point of you can really, tie in 3-4 other pieces. Like you need a lot, especially even on the back end. It's these guys work cut out, and thank God he's making whatever $6 million a year as a GM. So
yeah, no, exactly. He probably looking back. Well, it's tough to turn down 6 bananas. You never turn that down, but he could have just taken a breather after Toronto and pick somewhere else, and obviously money talks, but he's got his hands full. But Jay Swiss, buddy, always a pleasure, buddy. Thank you for snapping around at Missin Curfew. Hall Pass Media, Kyle Conway, Max Ice Pick Pickup. Thank you guys. That was Missin Curfew, fellas.